Scentland, the land of scent. Storyteller. Hello and welcome, it's Chris back with yet another storytelling session of Scentland. And today it is going to be a rather sad story. Oh yes indeed, because the stories are not always cheerful, not always joyful, but they always have some sort of a message, a moral ending, some sort of. These stories should be telling you something, or telling us something, or they told me something. They kind of had an impact, one way or the other. Okay, so that's the case in this case in today's story. And that leads us back to my childhood and to the year of 1978, 79. And it has to do with my family, okay? So it's a very private, very intimate story I'm telling you today. And it is not a fun story. But sometimes, c'est la vie, huh? So I was living in Germany with my parents. My father was a doctor, a Röntgen doctor, so you had to do a lot of with x-rays, and my mom was in the medical field working as well. And toward the mid part of 78, my dad started to be not so healthy anymore. So he went to have himself checked up as a doctor. Actually, he prolonged it. So that's one of the morals of the story. And I have his diary, so I can read back to the date what happened. And he has a suspicion that something's wrong about him, but he does not have himself checked up, by his colleagues, basically. Okay, so he's pushing it. He's pushing it out until a point when his colleagues tell him that you don't look well. You look ill. And that's when he goes to have himself checked up, and that's where the result comes. And the result is that he has acute myeloid leukemia. It's a bad bitch, baby. I tell you, it's a bad bitch because it fucking kills you within months. And he knew that. He obviously knew that. He was in the field, okay? And the diagnosis hit him hard, I'm sure. And it hit us all hard, although I wasn't told about this directly. I knew that he's sick, and because he was staying home and he was laying on the couch and he was not going to work. So for me as a 6-year-old, the daily procedure, the daily routine got somehow changed, because my dad stayed home from September 1978 onwards, okay? And he obviously got the diagnosis. The diagnosis said, and I read the diagnosis, that you got from 3 to 6 months with this acute myeloid leukemia to live. Okay, so I'm sure that my mom and my dad were somehow preparing for this scenario. Okay, I wasn't. I just knew that my dad is sick. Maybe he'll get better. Okay, things passed. Christmas passed, New Year's Eve, and all that. Life was continuing in a slightly different way, but it was continuing up until the 7th of January 1979, when it was a routine day. I was around. I was probably going to the kindergarten. I don't remember the day. It was nothing special. The day went by. I went to sleep. Came the 8th of January 1979 when I woke up, just any other day. Except for my dad was not there anymore. Towards the last months of his life, he was staying outside in the living room on the couch, because it was somehow more comfortable, more airy as the bedroom. But he wasn't there. I went out, he wasn't there. So I asked my mom, what happened? Where is he? And she said he's gone to work. And I paused that deliberately, and I'll come back to that. So my initial thought was, well, that's great. That's actually great, because he hasn't been to work for a number of months. As a 6 1/4, 6 1/2, barely around, old kid, I thought, well, that's something good. If he actually stood up and went to work, that means that we are getting back to normal routine, right? Yeah, good news. So day went on. I probably went to kindergarten. I don't remember that day. I remember coming home and he's not around. So I asked, where is he? He's working late. Okay, it did happen before. I remembered that it did happen before. He came home late. He was always a very well dressed man, with his tie, and he had tremendous style. So I remember him coming in late. Sometimes I would wait for him to come home and that, but he wasn't. So I went to sleep, and the evening of January 8th. So we turned January 9th. So he's not there again. So I say, what's going on, guys? And so I asked my mother, like basically, where is he? And she says, well, he's dead. Figure that out, right? Nice. What do you say to that, right? So he ain't coming back. No. He's not gonna come back ever. No. I'm not gonna see him ever again. No. He's dead. Gone. Okay. That was interesting. I don't remember the moment, so I will not give you the Hollywood bullshit here, okay? I don't remember the moment, okay? But I know its impact. And the impact was heavy. The impact is heavy till today, okay? So when I mention at the end of this video the moral, what I learned from the story, I will, you will understand, okay? So, yeah. So that was it. Well, life went on without him, suddenly disappearing, and adding to it that I wasn't even. I was so guarded and somehow tucked away from this major problem by my mother. She was trying to make sure that I don't get confronted with the problem of my dad's passing. So she was trying to create probably another dimension, okay, where I could live without ever acknowledging that he's gone, because I wasn't even present at the funeral, okay, where that would have been a tremendous opportunity for me to say goodbye, or some sort of closure of our relationship, but there was nothing. So there was one day he was there, the next day he was gone, and that's it. The problem with this is, I understand that my mother was protecting me, okay? She was protecting me from this very bad news and from the impact and all that. What she did, however, was to make it even bigger, because she would have sat down with me and said, you know that your dad has been sick. Yes, tick the box. You've seen him. He's been sleeping here on the couch instead of the bedroom. He was in a bad place. Yes, we've been to the hospital. Yes, he's got treatment. Yes, I remember that. Yes, and well, the consequence of all this is that he didn't make it. He didn't make it because it was such an aggressive illness that it took him away to the heaven or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so he's not here, but we can say goodbye to him at the funeral. So I could have gone, and if she would have told me all this, I could have had a normal way of observing what it is happening, and would have had the opportunity to say goodbye. All this did not happen. I was living in a bubble, being fed things that were not correct, and although the purpose was to protect me, it did the opposite. So obviously I got over it. Acknowledge is not there. Life goes on. Life goes on. Actually, life is very cruel because life goes on. But I sort of started to doubt whatever my mom is telling me. So when she said, just to give you a brief example, when she said, I'm bringing out the rubbish, okay, she took the rubbish from the kitchen, okay, and brought it out to the main rubbish dump outside the apartment complex where we were living in. So she said that I'm taking the rubbish and I'm going out the door, taking it out to the collecting point of the rubbish, and I'll come back. I didn't believe her. She said she'd come back. I didn't think she's coming back. So she took the rubbish from the kitchen, went out the front door, turned the corner. I didn't see her, and the minute I didn't see her, I was standing in the entrance door of our apartment, screaming out onto the street to whoever would come along, somebody who would walk the street, and I would say, "Have you seen my mom? I haven't seen my mom. Where's my mom? My mom left." Because she told me she's going to come back, and I didn't believe her anymore because she told me that my dad is going to come back, and he didn't come back. So it broke some sort of a trust between me and my mother. What my mother was telling me, I was not believing her anymore because I caught her telling me something that is not true. Okay, and that went on into my relationships later on in my adult life till today. It's a different way now because I'm more sort of kind of mindful and careful with things, being more appreciative of the life that we are living in this current moment, trying to cherish the moment, always a bit fearful, always a bit, but I think that's the case with any parent, okay? We want to take the best care of our children, that's fine, okay? So I think I've passed the shock and the impact that all of this story had on my life. Yet, when I come to the moral of the story of today, is that it's very important, and I'm trying to be with my kids the same way. Okay, kids are not stupid. Kids are kids. Very smart. Very smart. Very smart. So, if you're a parent, or if you will be a parent, take this from me. Take this from me, okay? The moral of today's rather sad story. Always tell the truth. Because first of all, the truth always prevails. The truth always prevails. There's no escaping the truth. It will come out, it will come out. If you confront the truth, and if you have an intelligent, straightforward conversation about the truth, not only in such a scenario that I had, but in any scenario, can be a relationship, can be a friendship, can be anything else, it helps the cause, okay? It will help the cause to be dealt with, the cause to be settled, and the way to be paved to move forward, okay? To move forward, to get on with that human relation, okay? And I did not find the right way to go ahead with my mom ever after. So until the day she died, I had always, probably not the last few years, but before that I was always sort of, there was always this thing between us that was never spoken about, but it was always there. This emotional kind of torn, something that was there, that I always held my mother subconsciously responsible for, that she didn't tell me, she didn't bring me to the funeral, and and it created this sort of anger. I don't know if it's anger, I don't know, I never analyzed it, never went to anybody professionally analyzing it, but what I can say that it created some sort of a burden into our relationship with my mother. So again, tell the truth, be straightforward, even if it's unpleasant. Okay, would have been unpleasant for my mother to come forward and tell what has happened. My problem in hindsight, okay, is again that they got, both of them, they got the diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia in September of 1978. And between September of 1978 until the main event happened in January 1979, they didn't figure out a way how to tell me. Okay, and that's a point that today makes me kind of like, what the fuck, you know? Come on. Yeah, you have, okay, it's an illness, it's painful, it's this and that, the other thing, but you gotta look forward. Who's forward? The new generation. The kid is the forward thing, okay? And obviously at the time, my mother was forward, the future, because she was like 37. And so, figure out something, figure out a scenario that you will actually tell your kid, or that for my mom to be able to move, but they didn't really agree on anything, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I can tell, because it's like, it's different if there is an accident happening, or some sudden scenario where you can't tell things, where you're overwhelmed by the shock of the situation. Obviously every death is a shock, okay, so you're hit in the chest by this thing, but still they had some time to prepare, and it's not good if you have, you're actually lucky if you have some time to prepare, okay. So after the battery's wearing off on this thing, so that's somehow a sad story today, but it's not always funny, it's not always fun. The storyteller stories that I have to tell about my life. My goal is to give you some sort of direction, some sort of moral consequence of a story that I tell. That can be positive, that can be negative. If I succeed for just one person to take something out of this story, for example, I already think I did something that is way beyond a fragrance review, okay? So there you go. This is why I started this channel, okay, just to give you a little hint. Thanks very much, and see you soon for another story. Storyteller!